Hey there guys, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. So in this episode of Review Flex, we're going to be looking at yet another Steamboat Willie horror movie. We're going to be diving into the information regarding the movie and taking a look at the trailer. So if you are new around here, consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all the movie and streaming news we have going on this channel. And with that down, we're going to be jumping into this article from Fear HQ. Another Steamboat Willie horror movie has been announced. So the return of Steamboat Willie is yet another horror movie spin on the classic character Steamboat Willie. Check out the first teaser for the film, which was made entirely in Unreal Engine. So guys, to start off with, we're going to jump straight into the trailer. We're going to see what it has to show us. Then we're going to dive into the article and have a little bit of a read about this upcoming movie and see what it has to tell us. So let's get straight into it. So that was the trailer to the return of Steamboat Willie. It doesn't really give us a lot about a plot point or anything like that. It's basically just the camera following a steamboat as it goes down a river. It goes underwater, the camera, and then it transitions into this black and white version of the steamboat where the main character that you're seeing the camera through is in the captain's quarter. You see a video on an old, block TV with Steamboat Willie playing. The character turns around and then gets attacked by Steamboat Willie at the end. And you don't really get a good look at the Steamboat Willie character, and it doesn't really give anything away. I'm not even sure if this is going to be a full-length feature movie or not, but let's read into the article and see if we can learn a bit more about this movie and see, what's going on with it. So, when Steamboat Willie hit the public domain earlier this month, it was celebrated with the reveal of multiple new projects involving the character. Mickey's Mousetrap and Infestation Origins both offered a horror spin on the once family-friendly character. Guys, I covered both of those projects. Mickey's Mousetrap is a live-action horror movie being made, and then Infestation Origins is kind of like you're in a warehouse, and then the Mickey Mouse is kind of like a mutant version of him running around, and you have to try and get rid of the infestation of the rats and Mickey Mouse. I've covered both of these projects in a prior video. If you're interested in looking those up, I'll put the link to the description in the description of the video that I did, so you can go and check those out. So, this week, another Steamboat Willie inspired movie was announced. The Return of Steamboat Willie, written by Joe Smith. The upcoming film has been made entirely in Unreal Engine by Future Studios. Sorry, I butchered that. By Future Studios. It was just a weird spelling. So, the synopsis reads, after 95 years of being locked away, Willie is free and he wants his steamboat back. So, we've obviously checked out the trailer already. Reception to the teaser has been mixed, with many lamenting yet another horror adaptation of the character. Between the unoriginality and the predictable jump scare at the end, it looks like people are starting to turn on low-budget horror adaptations. I don't think they're starting to turn on low-budget horror adaptations. I just think that, it's the cheesy kind of low-budget unoriginality, like it says in this paragraph. I mean, if you do something unique and something different and something fresh with the Steamboat Willie character, then I think it could be turned into a really great kind of horror movie. And I don't just see why it has to be turned into a horror movie. You can make a comedy movie, you can make like a rom-com where he's in with another character, you can make a kind of a Toy Story-esque character where he comes to life, he's a toy, and then maybe he comes to life. There's so many different things you could do with a character rather than just horror movies. But I get it, why it appeals to people. You can make a low-budget horror movie really cheap. Jump scares is a really easy, unique tool to use if you're not very experienced as a director. It's easy to just implement jump scares here and there. And, I'm not bored of it. If people do something fresh and cool with the character, then I'm all for the low-budget adaptations, as I say, because they're cheap and they're easy to implement. But, I can understand why people might be a little bit tired of it already. But, if people make good quality content, then there's nothing to be tired from. So, one particular thing to note is that the trailer appears to feature actual footage of Steamboat Willie. Despite the character being in the public domain, there are very strict rules regarding usage. These rules are what Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey director Rhys Frake Waterford warned about when discussing why he wanted to stay away from the character. So, the director of the Pooh Blood and Honey, he goes on to say this: "I noticed some stuff on a few of the Steamboat Willie projects they shouldn't have done. We didn't want to go near that character. Some of these new projects are sketchy. They think just because something's fallen into public domain, you can make up a version of it and then put it into the market and it's completely fine. It's about to get quite scary and extremely costly. I don't know if any of them are going to, try to make them good." Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? As I say, kind of like this Unreal Engine trailer, it doesn't really show anything. Like, making these kind of trailers is great, as a project, if you're like a university student, or if you're just kind of dabbling into, VFX for the first time, you want to make something cool, something unique. And using Steamboat Willie, I kind of understand it. It's kind of all the rage now with these kind of public domain horror movies, and I get it. And a lot of people want to jump on the bandwagon. But as the director for, Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey says here, people have to be very, very careful about what they're doing. There's a fine line between using Steamboat Willie in certain ways that, if you cross that line, then it goes into copyright material and Disney will come after you and it'll cost you a lot of money if they end up suing you. So you've got to be very, very careful about what you're doing, especially if you're making money from your project. It's one thing to make an Unreal Engine trailer like this and then not profit from it. But if you're making a full feature-length movie using Steamboat Willie and you accidentally cross into copyright material, then Disney can come after you and they can sue you for the money that you make. So you have to be very, very careful. And I understand why the director of, Pooh Blood and Honey said he wants to stay away from the character. I absolutely get that because it seems like more of a headache, than a convenience to some degree. So, it's becoming a concerning trend that only adaptations we are seeing are family-friendly characters that enter the public domain are of the horror genre. This is exactly what I was just saying earlier in the video. There's so many other genres you could do. I think a really cool Toy Story-esque story would be great. Imagine if you had a young child who had a Steamboat Willie toy, and then imagine if the toy came to life, and Steamboat Willie was alive, kind of like Toy Story. And, I think that would be really cool. Imagine, like, the movie Ted, but it was like a Steamboat Willie version where Steamboat Willie comes to life and he's a real life kind of Mickey Mouse. And I think that would be really super cool, like really cool, comedy. And I think there's some potential there. It's becoming stale and predictable as evidenced by the comments that have flooded to the trailer. So let's have a look. At this point, it would be more original to make a non-horror adaptation of Steamboat Willie. Exactly. If someone came out with a Ted type movie, but, it was Steamboat Willie instead. So it was like a really kind of foul-mouthed Steamboat Willie in the Ted kind of, genre of, like obviously that teddy bear, he's kind of foul-mouthed and he's kind of rude and stuff. If they did the same thing with Steamboat Willie, that would be original and it'd be fun and it'd be cool and I'd love to see something like that. So all of these creators waited for Mickey to become public domain. Also, they could do absolutely nothing worthwhile with him, another commenter added. Yeah, it's easy to make comments like that, but, when you have to finance a movie, there's only certain things you can do. As a kind of a low-budget movie, people have finite kind of resources and money to pour into the movies and stuff. So, like I said, making horror movies and jump scares and stuff like that, it's the easiest route to go down. That's why it appeals to a lot of people. And, not just people making the movie, but people watching the movie. It's kind of that fun novelty kind of ridiculousness of it. So it appeals to kind of making it and watching it. So I get why, you know, horror seems to be the preferred genre. So despite the unoriginality of the project, that's not an easy word to say, it's easy to understand why many creators flock to the horror genre. The National News wrote on an entire article explaining that the horror spin on classic characters serves as a subversion of expectation and are generally cheap to make with high returns. Yeah, this is another thing as well. They're cheap to make. Jump scares are easy to implement. It seems to pique a lot of people's interest because the horror genre's had a resurgence in the last few years. But it's not only that, you know, the return on investment is really high. Look at Pooh, Blood and Honey. They made ridiculous amounts of money on their first movie, and now they're going into their second movie with a 10 times budget, and they're probably going to make 10 times, you know, the profit as well. So with the return of Steamboat Willie being made entirely in Unreal Engine, it couldn't have been terribly expensive, but at some point, creators need to bring something new to the table. And I think that's all we've got. Guys, so what we're going to do to finish off the video, we're going to pop over to this Steamboat Willie trailer on YouTube, and we're going to take a look at the comment section and get an idea of what people are saying about this, and see what people, you know, kind of think of this trailer and what it shows, and let's see if people are truly fed up or if people are actually interested in this movie. So, landing over here on the return of the Steamboat Willie official teaser trailer, let's go down and have a quick look at some of these comments before we finish off the video. So, how many views has it got? It's got 949,000. Wow, one day ago. So it's roughly about 24 hours ago. And it's almost got 1 million views in 24 hours, roughly 24 hours. That's absolutely insane. That's pretty good. So it shows you that there's a lot of people out there that are very interested in this type of content. So bear that in mind. At this point, it'd be more original to make a non-horror adaptation. That was what we saw on the article. It would be amazing if some real professional animators could make a sequel to Steamboat Willie in full Rubber House fashion. Well, at least this horror one actually takes advantage of the fact that the cartoon is on a boat. Can we get a non-horror adaptation for once? Yeah, like I was saying, there's so many different genres you could do, but the cheapest one to do is horror, unfortunately. It's the easiest to implement, as I've said so many times now. But I think we're going to keep seeing these horror movies crop up. We've got a Bambi horror movie coming. And obviously DC characters enter the public domain in 2030. And you know there's going to be horror films with them as well. I'm impressed how boring they were able to make that. Even the jump scare was boring because it's exactly the kind we've all seen a billion times. Imagine if they made Steamboat Willie game in the style of Cuphead. Would be awesome. Yeah, that would be so wicked. I'd be down for that. Everyone is mad that it's horror. But I'm so impressed at how well these cinematic shots are done with the Unreal Engine. I'm intrigued. Love this transition from color to black in white. Point of view, then a short, brilliant, done teaser. Yeah, no, it's not bad. It's a lot better than I could ever do. I'm not going to complain against it whatsoever. It's beautifully shot. The Unreal Engine is absolutely incredible when it comes to its graphics. I'm a little interested. It is cliche, but if they manage to do something different, then I'm supporting it. That's the same, you know, ideas that I have. If you can, you know, make a horror movie and you can make it unique and different and something we haven't seen before, then I'm all for it. It's not the fact that people are bored of, you know, Steamboat Willie being a horror icon. It's the fact that, you know, it's done badly. If something is done good, then people, you know, they'll like it. Love the creativity when stuff ends up in the public domain. Let's make a horror version of it. That's it. That's the only thing you can do with something in the public domain. That's not true whatsoever. There's so many different genres. There's countless. You could do fantasy. You can do a Toy Story. You can do a Ted type movie. You know, you can do a rom-com if you wanted to, where he falls in love with another mouse. You know, there's so many different things you could do. So all these creators waited for Mickey to enter the public domain so they could do absolutely nothing worthwhile with him. It's easy for, you know, first-time directors or first-time movie makers to make a cheap movie based on a well-known character. You know, it gets a lot of free advertising, exactly what we're doing now, talking about it. We'll read a few more. So how about a story about Steamboat Willie is feeling depressed and he's no longer a copyrighted IP? His original owner, that's why he would say avoid copyright. But later he finds out lots of folks have more love for him than his original owner and it warms his heart. Yeah, that's a pretty cool story. One can easily say Steamboat Willie has been in a never-ending loop. And now he's in the public domain. The loop that was in is now broken. He's free to do as he pleases. Little do people know, Walt trapped him in a loop for a reason. See, that is a unique story, and that sounds amazing. He's trapped in this loop where he's kind of inside the Steamboat Willie universe, and that clip of him on the boat is just played over and over and over again for the last, like, 60 years. And now that he's in the public domain, the character's been released into the real world. Like, something like that would be really interesting, a really great take on that character. Has it become a rule or something if something enters the public domain to make it a horror? Again, it's just cheap and easy to make for, you know, novice movie makers. But guys, so that was just a few comments on the video. I don't want to read too much because this video is already quite long as it is. But jump into the comment section. Let me know what you think about this trailer and about this Unreal Engine Steamboat Willie movie. What do you think of the trailer? Do you think it looks any good? And are you still interested in a Steamboat Willie horror movie? But if it's made well, you know, would it still interest you, or are you just completely over the whole public domain horror kind of thing? Let me know what you think. Can't wait to hear what you have to say. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.